For a while there, funerals and other public gatherings were discouraged, but an exception was made for Les. The procession behind his cortege was a mile long. I was asked to deliver the eulogy, and when they pleaded with me to take over at the lab, I agreed. So naturally, I tended to forget all about Alice. Kaput took everything society had. Catastrophic autoimmune pulmonary collapse. Took everything society had. And while I may be selfish, even a rat can tell when it makes more sense to join in the fight to save a sinking ship, especially when there's no other port in sight. We learned how to combat catastrophic autoimmune pulmonary collapse. Eventually, it involved drugs and a vaccine based on reversed antibodies, force grown in patients' own bone marrow after been given a dangerous overdose of a vanadium compound I found by trial and error. It worked most of the time, but the victims suffered great stress and often required a special regime of whole blood transfusions to get across the most dangerous phase. Blood banks were stretched even thinner than before, only now the public responded generously, as in time of war. I should not have been surprised when survivors, after their recovery, volunteered by the thousands, but of course I'd forgotten about Alice by then, hadn't I? We beat back Kaput, catastrophic autoimmune pulmonary collapse. Its vector proved too unreliable and too easily interrupted once we'd figured it out. The poor little viroid never had a chance to get into Les's negotiation stage. Oh well, those are the breaks. I got all sorts of citations I didn't deserve. The king gave me a KBE for personally saving the Prince of Wales. I had dinner at the White House. Big deal. The world had a respite after that. Catastrophic autoimmune pulmonary collapse had scared people, it seemed, into a new spirit of cooperation. I should have been suspicious, of course, but soon I'd moved over to the World Health Organization and had all sorts of administrative responsibilities in the final campaign on malnutrition. By that time, I had almost entirely forgotten about ALAS. I forgot about you, didn't I? Oh, the years passed. My star rose. I became famous, respected, revered. I didn't get my Nobel in Stockholm, ironically. I picked it up in Oslo. Fancy that. Just shows you can fool anybody. And yet, I don't think I ever really forgot about you, Alice. Not at the back of my mind. Peace treaties were signed. Citizens of the industrial nations voted temporary cuts in their standards of living in order to fight poverty and save the environment. Suddenly, it seemed, we'd all grown up. Other cynics, guys I'd gotten drunk with in the past and shared dark premonitions about the inevitable fate of filthy, miserable humanity, all gradually deserted the faith, as pessimists seemed wont to do when the world turns bright. Too bright for even the cynical to dismiss as a mere passing phase on the road to hell. And yet my own brooding remained unblemished, for subconsciously I knew it wasn't real. Then the third Mars expedition returned to worldwide adulation and brought home with it TARP. And that was when we all found out how friendly all of our homegrown pathogens really had been all along. Late at night, stumbling in exhaustion from overwork, I would stop at Les's portrait where I had ordered it hung in the hall opposite my office door and stand there cursing him and his damned theories of symbiosis. Imagine mankind ever reaching a symbiotic association with TARP. That would really be something. Imagine, Les, all those alien genes added to our heritage, to our rich human diversity. Only TARP did not seem to be much interested in negotiation. Its wooing was rough, deadly, and its vector was the wind. The world looked to me and to my peers for salvation. In spite of all my successes and high renown, though, I knew for myself I was a second best fraud. I would always know, no matter how much they thanked and praised me, who had been better than me. I knew for myself he had been better than me by light years. Again and again, deep into the night, I would pore through the notes Les Addison had left behind, seeking inspiration, seeking hope. That's when I stumbled across Alice again. I found you again. And you made us better, all right. At least a quarter of the human race must contain your DNA by now. Alice, and in their newfound inexplicable rationalized altruism, they set the tone followed by all the others. Everybody behaves so damn well in the present calamity. They help each other. They succor the sick. They all give. Funny thing, though, if you hadn't made us all so bloody cooperative, we'd probably never have made it to bloody Mars, would we? Or if we had, there'd have been still enough paranoia around, so we'd have maintained a decent quarantine. But then I remind myself, you don't plan, do you? You're just a bundle of RNA packed inside a protein coat with an accidentally acquired trait of making humans want to donate blood. That's all you are, right? So you had no way of knowing that by making us better, you were also setting us up for TARP, did you? Did you? We have some palliatives now. A few techniques seem to be doing some good. The latest news is great, in fact. Apparently, we'll be able to save maybe 15% or so of the children. At least half of them may even be fertile. That's for nations who've had a lot of racial mixing. Heterozygosity and genetic diversity seem to breed better resistance. Those people with pure, narrow bloodlines will be harder to save. But then, racism has its inevitable price. Too bad about the great apes and horses, but then, at least, all this will give the rainforests a chance to grow back. Meanwhile, everybody perseveres. There is no panic, as one reads about happening in past plagues. We've grown up, at least, it seems. We help each other. But I carry a card in my wallet saying I'm a Christian Scientist, and that my blood group is AB negative, and that I'm allergic to nearly everything. Transfusions are one of the treatments commonly used now, and I'm an important man, but I won't take blood. I won't. I donate, but I'll never take it. Not even when I drop. You won't have me, Alice. You won't. I'm a bad man. I suppose all told I've done more good than evil in my life, but that's incidental, a product of happenstance and the caprice of the world. I have no control over the world, but I can make my own decisions at least, as I make this one now. Down out of my high research tower I've gone, into the streets where the teeming clinics fester and broil. That's where I work now, and it doesn't matter to me that I'm behaving so differently, no differently than anyone else today. It doesn't matter to me that I'm behaving no differently than anyone else today. They are all marionettes. They think they're acting altruistically, but I know they are your puppets, Alice. But I am a man, do you hear me? I make my own decisions. Fever racks my body now as I drag myself from bed to bed, holding their hands when they stretch them out to me for comfort, doing all I can to ease their suffering, to save a few. You'll not have me, Alice. This is what I choose to do.